Rachel Ramsey here in the NBC4i Digital Center, back again with another episode of Columbus Business Beat. As always, joining me now is Mark Somerson, with the managing editor of Columbus Business First. So thank you once again for joining me, Mark. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
So again, with every episode, we're talking about everything business across Central Ohio. So we're going to get right into it. One of the stories, Mark, that you guys are working on over at Columbus Business First is Ohio Health has applied to rezone the former Big Lots headquarters. So kind of talk to me about what are the plans for that area?
We've been asking that question for a long time. So you remember in April, Ohio Health paid $36 million to buy this. By that time, Big Lots was in bankruptcy. And this is basically a bargain basement price because Big Lots bought this property for $69 million only 5 years ago. Things went south for the company, as you know, closing down across the country. Big Lots stores are all turning into different things now. The company was purchased, and some Big Lots are opening again. But they had this beautiful headquarters, which is basically a 250,000 square foot building, and then a second building that's 84,000 square feet, and then a separate parking garage. When Ohio Health was looking at it and then purchasing it, we had a lot of questions, and Ohio Health said, we're not ready to talk about them. But then we found an application that they have filed with the city of Columbus, and they want to rezone it from commercial to hospital and medical use. Now, it could already have been an outpatient clinic or something like that, but this rezoning will allow them to have overnight stays, which makes us think that they're going to build a hospital of some sort in that space. They still said the planning is in the beginning stages. They're not ready to talk, but the application speaks volumes for what they're planning. Some sort of inpatient overnight stay hospital. And, you know, Ohio Health is everywhere. They've got, let me get this number straight for you, $1.2 billion in constructions going on right now.
Wow.
They're building all over Central Ohio and downtown. As you know, they're building a new facility at their Riverside complex for women's health. They're going to put another cancer center in over there. And of course, downtown at Grant, they're making all sorts of progress with the new facilities there. So on top of that, you know, it's only $36 million on top of the $1.2 billion that they have, and their profits, their revenue from the past couple of years has been very high as well. They see this as probably as a good way of expanding those medical services out a little further and into the Hamilton Quarter area. And yeah, we'll have to see what happens with it. But the application shows they are trying to do something hospital related at this. It's not going to be offices.
And I don't know if you mentioned this already or if you guys know, do we know why Ohio Health is so interested in this specific area?
Again, they're spreading all over the place. They're in Dublin, they're in, Pickerington, they're everywhere and starting to look to see where patients are, where new residents are moving. And this kind of fits into that spread across Central Ohio, meet patients where they are. Again, we don't know exactly what their plans are, but if it involves an overnight stay, it could be an emergency room, it could be all sorts of things going in there. And the space, 250,000 square feet is not a small space.
Yeah.
Then with an additional 84,000 square feet in another building, they've got some room over there to play with. And again, they say it's in the early planning stages. We'll see much more down the road. But yeah, they're investing some time and money into this project.
Yeah, we're just going to have to wait and see on that. So your guys' next story that you kind of wrote about is the former Fifth Ave Floral Company, which closed not too long ago and was open for, I think it was more than 120 years. So there seems to be something coming out of maybe that area. What's the plans on that? Yeah,
we kind of backed into this story in a strange way. We were working on a story about a hotel going up at the Patrick J's site in sort of near Clintonville, Old North Columbus. The developer of that, his name is Manav Singh, president of Sintel Hotels. And in our conversations with him, he told one of our reporters, hey, I'm going to put up another hotel over at the former Fifth Avenue Floral Company at Kenny and Kinnear, which was kind of a shock to us. We knew that Fifth Avenue was closing. You can see the sign is already down. But yeah, he said, look, I'm looking into this. I bought this land. He won't tell us exactly what he paid for yet for this land, but it's on an acre. It's got an adjacent garage. And Yeah, he's going to build a boutique hotel there. We're not sure how large, but yeah, it's going to be an unbranded boutique hotel that's going to be right over there where OSU is building an awful lot and investing in that area. So yeah, it's really interesting that he's looking at these two hotels, one in Old North Columbus at a very infamous Patrick J's, that it closed a number of years ago, and now at the Fifth Avenue Floral Company at Kinnear and Kenny.
And it seems like how you're talking, it seems like these plans are obviously still in the early stages, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Both of them will have to go through all sorts of processes with the city, with permitting, of course, with commissions that will look at it and all of that. But yeah, it's pretty ambitious for these two sites that basically have been either a bar like it was Patrick J's or the Floral Company. They actually opened on West Fifth Avenue in 1901. In the 1940s, they moved to Kinnear and Kenny. And I grew up near that area in Upper Arlington and drove by it all the time. I don't think I ever bought flowers there, but I'm sure people I know have.
Yeah.
So it was an institution. It's sad to see it go, but it's an interesting reuse of the property, and we'll have to see where this ends up if it ever happens. But yeah, the developer was really interested in this.
All right. Well, I'm excited to see what comes out of that area too, especially that area. I feel like anytime I drive through there, it's a little busy. So I'm excited to see how that's going to all happen. So Mark, thank you so much again. Of course, we'll be back here to talk more about business news across Central Ohio. I'll have NBC4 digital reporters David Reese and Ava Boldazar joining me, talk about business and some new restaurants coming to Central Ohio. We'll be back after this break. Welcome back to Columbus Business Beat. Joining me now are NBC4 digital reporters David Reese and Ava Boldazar, here once again to talk about everything business that they have covered in the last week or so. So we all know Columbus has a ton of food options, always having stuff opening and some closures too. So David, we're going to start with you. You wrote a lot about new chicken places and things in the area. So before we talk about a new one that's going to be popping up in Central Ohio, talk about this recent closure from a popular chicken shop.
Yeah. So it's Hot Chicken Takeover. And they announced that on July 30th that their Clintonville location on North High Street is unfortunately no longer welcoming customers. So this does mark the brand's third closure this year in Central Ohio.
And I know that we mentioned there was new ownership, and you just mentioned that this is the not the first closure for this company since it's taken over the new ownership. So what were some of the changes made with this new ownership in the restaurants?
Yeah, so earlier this year, Hot Chicken Takeover also closed its Easton location in March and then its Lewis Center location in January. And this is all coming after the brand was purchased in May last year by another company called Craveworthy. They own a bunch of other smaller fast casual restaurant chains. And they purchased Hot Chicken Takeover's owner, Untamed Brands, and then they started to implement a few changes to the brand. So what the main thing that they did is they combined Hot Chicken Takeover with another chain that they owned. And so while we know Hot Chicken Takeover here in Central Ohio and that branding and name remains for the remaining restaurants, outside of Central Ohio, it is now HCT Southern Chicken. So what they have been saying is that they're bringing Hot Chicken Takeover back to what it once was, its original roots. But as they're restructuring, yes, we are seeing a few closures here in Central Ohio.
Now, with those closures, I mean, they still have restaurants. How many Hot Chicken Takeover restaurants are left in Central Ohio?
Yeah, so there's about 4 left. We've got one in Gahanna, Grandview, the North Market, and then in Westerville.
All right, perfect. So we'll keep an eye on those closures. And let's talk about a new chicken shop that's coming to the area. What do we know about that?
Yeah, so it's called Lane's Chicken Fingers. They are a Texas-based brand, and they opened their first Ohio location in June. And now they're expanding with a bunch all across the state. So what we're focusing on right now is there's a franchisee that just signed a deal that he announced at the end of July to bring 22 restaurants here across Central Ohio and in the northern part of the Buckeye State.
And do we know exactly where they're going to be opening Columbus, or right now they just are like, it's coming to the area?
Yeah, we're not exactly sure. It's more so just coming to the area. We do know that this franchisee is sort of sectioned in his deal. It ranges from like here in Central Ohio and Columbus to Lake Erie, and then from Lima to Wooster. So we could see those locations anywhere in there. But he has announced that he's hoping that the first location as part of his franchising will be, I believe, in Lima next spring.
All right, perfect. So Ava, we're going to move on to you, obviously talking about more food. You wrote about Potbelly Sandwich Shop opening a new spot. Where did they open?
Yeah, so they are going to open at Coleman's Crossing Boulevard in Marysville, and they're actually opening in a development that is being built right now. And that development is going to have a total of 3 storefronts. We don't know what the 2 other storefronts are going to be yet, as they are currently up for lease. We do know that the Potbelly is going to feature a drive-through in what the restaurant group said pickup-friendly options.
And I don't know if you mentioned it already. Do we have a timeline for when it's going to be opening, or is it kind of just in the early phases right now?
Yeah, so it's going to be opening in late 2025. As of right now, we don't have an exact opening date, but we do know that it'll be later this year.
Perfect. And are there more shops opening in the future? Is this kind of part of an expansion through the company?
Yeah, so a restaurant group, the one that is going to open this Marysville one, actually plans to open 14 more across central Ohio, and they do own some Potbellies that are currently open, including a recently opened one in Westerville and one in Dublin.
Perfect. So before we go to break, we got one more story we're going to talk about. I know we talked about it a couple weeks ago. Cava announced it's coming to Central Ohio, and we first talked about that it's going to be coming to the Polaris area after we learned that from city permits. But now we learned that another location is going to be popping up in Central Ohio. So Ava, I know you talked about that. Where can we expect to find this other location?
Yeah, so according to city permits, Cava plans to open on Hilliard Rome Road in the Hilliard Green neighborhood, and the address where it plans to open formerly housed a Skyline Chili that closed in February.
And where did Cava start? Where did it start, and how many current locations do they have?
Yeah, so Cava was founded in Maryland in 2010, and it has since spread to more than 400 locations across 28 states. And these new Cavas, the Polaris and the Hilliard one, are going to be the first ones that are in Ohio. We currently do not have any Cavas open right now.
I was going to say, I'm super excited for when Cava opens, because I know, Ava, you said you've had it. I know other people in the newsroom have said they've tried it, and they said they absolutely love it. Ava, what's the one bowl you kind of made when you went to Cava, when you tried it?
Yeah, I don't remember the exact order, but I do remember I did like the rice and grains, then I had falafel and, just a mixture of vegetables and things like that. And I will say the falafel is the best falafel that I've ever had.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
I'm excited to try it. I've never had it, and that's high praise. The best
Yes.
falafel she's ever had.
Yeah.
That's crazy. 'Cause I've had a lot of good falafel, so I might have to try it, and hopefully it lives up to that, Ava. And I love Mediterranean, and we do have quite a few Mediterranean spots across Central Ohio, so I'm very excited to see how this one is going to be when it finally opens. Thank you both so much again for joining me and talking about everything that you're working on. Of course, we'll be back after this break with Mark Somerson with Columbus Business First. We'll be back after this break. And we're back again here on Columbus Business Beat with Mark joining me once again to talk about some restaurant news. Now, Joey's Place is opened near Ohio State University on North High Street, but it's the 3rd restaurant to move into this building in the last year or so. So first, before we get into that, what is Joey's Place?
Joey's is going to be a more traditional campus area type bar. It'll have TVs. It'll have basically what they're calling comfort food with soul. So it's going to have your burgers, your chicken, and all of that, plus drinks. We like to say that pretty much every restaurant in Columbus was something else before that, and something else before that, and something else before that. There are new build restaurants around Columbus, but most of them fit into spaces that have already existed. And we got to go way back in time to talk about Elena's Food and Grill. In 2017, that closed after 2 decades there. Food and Wine. 2 decades they were at that spot, and it closed. Then it was Trillium Kitchen and Patio after that. And then it was Adelaide's Gin Joint, which closed in the summer of 2024, last year, less than a year after it opened. And then it was Oshi2 Japanese Bistro. It opened in the spring and has already closed. So it's had this history of restaurants that did extremely well for 2 decades, and then these other ones that have not done so well over time.
Yeah.
Joey's says, hey, we're here for the students. We're going to play up to the campus, and we're going to make food that people want to eat, and they can have drinks and watch TV and all that.
So a lot of fun stuff for the students around there. Do we know exactly why those last 2 restaurants kind of closed, especially in such a short period of time? Because I mean, again, that's in an area where Ohio State students, if there's drinks and food and all that stuff, they're going to be there.
Yeah, a Japanese bistro near campus, that's tricky.
Yeah.
You're going to have a certain clientele. You're going to have people from other parts of Columbus that may go there. But again, a lot of people from other parts of Columbus don't want to mess with campus traffic and parking and looking for spots. And then students are paying a lot for everything already. Do they want a Japanese meal that's going to cost them a little more than a hamburger and a beer? Maybe. Adelaide's Gin Joint was food, drinks, and jazz. I don't know if jazz is the best thing for college students.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was in college, I was not much of a jazz fan.
Yeah.
So it's hard to tell. Restaurants come and go so quickly in this town. We're great at opening them up, and unfortunately, we're great at closing them down as well.
Yeah.
There's so many choices, especially around campus. And that's a revolving door of restaurant names over the years. You go back in time, and every restaurant that I frequented back in the 80s when I was a college student, they're gone.
Yeah.
And I'm sure in the 90s and early 2000s. And yeah, it's unfortunately a pattern that repeats over and over again.
And I feel like it's like you mentioned, it's one of those things that's kind of hit or miss when these new restaurants open.
Yeah.
The location and like who wants that sort of food. So I feel like in that area with college students, it could be a little tricky depending on what you open for sure.
I think opening any restaurant anywhere is a tricky proposition. I think it involves a lot of luck, a lot of skill, and good timing. And it's just unfortunate how much it costs to run a restaurant. And if you don't do well at first, it's really tough to gain those customers back.
Mm-hmm. And when do we expect Joey's Place to, is it kind of open right now, or are they kind of like a soft opening? What's happening with that?
It's exactly right. They have a soft opening right now, and I believe in the next couple of weeks it'll open for real with all of the amenities that's promising. I believe the kitchen is not quite open yet, and for the soft opening, there you can probably get some food and drinks, but yeah, the full kitchen will open up later when they announce and officially open their doors.
Yeah, and perfect timing for the college students once they get back to campus.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about our last story. And speaking of Ohio State, OSU plans to start construction on a new members-only club inside Ohio Stadium. So what is this club, and how much is it going to be costing the university? Because I'm sure it's not cheap.
No, they see it as a really good investment, though. The university, especially the athletics department, is into raising revenue. They want money, and they've come up with all sorts of ways to monetize the stadium, not only on game days, but off game days, too. They're doing special tours. They're adding more suites to on the football field, and all of that stuff's happening. This is beyond that. This is high end. It's called the 1922 Club. And that, of course, refers to when the stadium opened at Ohio Stadium and the Horseshoe. It's a $16 million private club inside Ohio Stadium, but you have no view of the field there, unfortunately. It's tiered. It's up on the it's a 20,000 square foot venue. It's outside the stadium at B-deck level between gates 18 and 22. And it is pretty special inside. It is gorgeous looking. This is going to cost you, if you just want a social membership with no game days, $1,000 a year. That gets you in there, and you can have your meals and enjoy all of that stuff. If you want to go on a game day, your yearly membership will cost you $4,500, and that doesn't actually include a football ticket. So you'll have to get that on top of it.
Wow.
Then you have your parking and all of that stuff, of course. This will open up in 2026, and it just looks really nice, and it looks very special. And I am sure it's one of those places where you go to be seen. And have a drink. You can watch the football games on TV if you don't go with a ticket and you're a social membership. But if you do want to go on those game days, the access is $4,500. And I have a feeling if you're spending $4,500 for a game day experience, you probably have a ticket to the game as well.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to say it does look really nice, and it's very different from what I've seen, because I don't know if other universities kind of have done something like this. I'm not sure, but it looks interesting. A little pricey, I would say, at least on my end. But then again, I mean, it looks really nice. And what I know you probably mentioned it. What are some of the, like you said, you can get food, drinks,
There's TVs.
All that kind of stuff, yeah.
It's just it's going to operate kind of like a speakeasy bar. So
Yeah.
there's that little bit of secretness about where it is exactly. The members will know where to go, of course. This is not for your average public. I doubt you'll see a lot of students in there.
Yeah.
Unless those are the students that, want to be seen in there. I bought the cheapest ticket, sat at the top of C deck during my years there, and was in and out of there with very little money spent beyond the ticket. Some people love this kind of thing. An exclusive club at Ohio Stadium. There's lots of membership levels for many other things involving OSU athletics and especially Ohio State football. This is just sort of at the top of that mountain.
Yeah, I was going to say it's definitely going to add on to your typical game day experience for sure. Do you guys know if there's any other special things that Ohio State is adding on this year or next year with this new club?
Not with this club, but they've mentioned a bunch of other little things that they're doing, and there's a lot of game day experiences that they're changing and announcing. I think they're going to be ringing the victory bell before and during the game and have different people doing it. And then like those ground level suites that are going to be going in. And I think they're moving some of the more exclusive seats to different places. So there's plenty of opportunities to spend a lot of money at OSU football games. If you're the kind of person who wants to spend a lot of money at Ohio football games,
yes.
OSU is creating all of those opportunities for you.
And I know I mentioned that construction is starting. Do we know when, like a for sure date that it's going to be like ready and going?
They say it'll open in 2026. I'm sure it'll be open and ready for the 2026-2027 season. So yeah. For those, you could probably go ahead and get your membership now. I believe the social memberships are going, and I believe they told us that the $4,500 membership plan is also starting to sell. So if you really are thinking about it, give them a call, find out what you can get for it, when you have to pay. But yeah, you and I'm sure they'll invite us in there to take a look at some point.
I hope so, because it'll be very cool to look at that. So, Mark, thank you so much once again for joining me for Columbus Business Beat. As always, our episodes of Columbus Business Beat is produced in partnership with Columbus Business First and is available to watch in multiple places. Each week, the program will premiere at 6:30 p.m. Thursday on the NBC4 Columbus streaming channel. The app is available for download on smart TVs with Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV. The latest episode will also be available for watching on demand under the featured shows section. The program will be available the following Mondays for additional viewing on NBC4i.com and on NBC4's YouTube channel. Of course, for more information, you can visit NBC4i.com/stream. And of course, for more information about Business First and how you can subscribe, just go to columbusbusinessfirst.com or you can scan that QR code that's on your screen right now. We will see you all next week right here on the NBC4 Columbus streaming channel.